Hello and welcome to Uncensored Conservatism. This is episode number 345. Today we're going to take a look at the wacky world of academia. This is volume 5 of that ongoing series. And let's start here at the University of Arizona, where you can now take a 3-credit course in queer and transgender liberation. Whatever the hell that means. The course is actually an internship at the former LGBTQ plus 2S Resource Center that was previously shuttered by the university. Your guess is as good as mine about what 2S is now. Daniel Grossenbach, a former adjunct ethics professor at the University of Arizona, is suing the University of Arizona, claiming he was illegally fired because of his views on transgenderism. Now, it was nothing he taught in the class, but the fact he spoke out at a school board hearing about transgender ideology in his children's school. The university claims they were eliminating adjunct instructors at the time of his firing, although they were actively recruiting adjunct instructors at the time. Baylor University's football coach Dave Aranda, referencing something from a movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, used the word midget, and the social activist skulls descended on him like a plague of locusts. He was accused of normalizing ableism for using a quote from a movie that had the word midget. Then he did what you should never do. He issued a public apology. Also at Baylor University, Provost Nancy Brickhouse came to the defense of a professor who questioned a Joe Biden executive order on the use of shared spaces for transgender weirdos. Specifically, the professor had asked about the rights of non-transgenders to be safe in bathrooms and locker rooms in an X post. Students attacked him, but Ms. Brickhouse held firm, and this is how you do it. Payrin Cal, a professor of engineering at the University of California in Berkeley, recently went on a starvation diet in support of terrorists in Gaza. Cal is living on a diet of 250 calories a day, which is allegedly the caloric daily intake of your average Gazan terrorist. Somebody needs to tell these Professor Cal that nobody really gives a shit. So you're sitting around and get shit-faced drunk one day in Florida. What do? Well, if you're Kristen Golly and 29 years old, you pick up the phone and dial in a bomb threat to Central Florida University. The call was easily traced, and when confronted by police, she admitted she was drunk and she thought the prank was funny. She was then promptly arrested. Again, that's how you do it. If you're transgender or gay at Colorado State University, you could have attended the Gay Pride Resource Center's BB Queer, which I'm sure features some footlong wieners. This was followed by a late-night event called Ramapalooza, and I hate to envision what that entailed. I'm thinking it has something to do with lubricant and dildos. And in further proof that Colorado State University is just fucking weird, they're offering a Spanish class with a twist called Spanish for Swifty Purposes. That's right. In learning Spanish through the lens of Taylor Swift. Good Lord. This is Ellen Deckerdorf, a graduate student at Florida State University. She's been charged with a misdemeanor after she was caught on video harassing and going berserk on a Jewish student for wearing an IDF t-shirt. Ms. Deckendorf, who simply wanted to free Palestine, will now be threatened with losing her freedom or some money in some fines. The chapter of Jewish Voice for Peace has been suspended through the rest of the academic year at George Washington University for, get this, harassing Jewish students and making anti-Semitic postings. Anti-Semitic Jews. Who had that on their bingo card? At Harvard University, 2 biology professors have been ordered to remove Black Lives Matter flags from their windows. The banners have been hanging there since the death of Fentanyl Floyd in 2020. The reason is that they never received permission from the Harvard powers that be to hang the banners in the first place. But after 5 years, Harvard is now just getting around to having them removed. 33 organizations at Harvard University co-signed a letter blaming Israel for the October 7th Hamas attacks on that country. Now comes word that students have been informed that calling someone a terrorist sympathizer can violate the university's anti-discrimination policies. By the way, mocking Mormons also falls under this policy, but Mormonism is a weird cult, if you ask me. All right, this is Ibrahim Kendi, probably one of the worst race grifters and racists out there. Known for his anti-racist ideology, which labels anyone not black as a racist, he's now forming a new think tank at Howard University. Boston University recently gave a similar effort the boot after financial mismanagement and other complaints because basically a grifter is going to grift. At Indiana University, the student group known as Palestinian Solidarity Committee has been suspended by the college for disruptive behavior. The group previously had an encampment for over 100 days and used social media to harass the college into cutting ties with Israel. Suspending the group, I'd say, why don't we just expel the members? All right, this is Darren Borders, an investigator at their Office of Civil Rights and Title IX at Kansas State University, and you can tell he's a social justice piece of slime by his gay pride and Black Lives Matters pins. He's been linked to the so-called Kansas Socialist Book Club that has, among other things, called for the destruction of the state of Israel. And he seems like a nice fat piece of shit. Professor Russell Stewart, shown here at Lake Superior College in Duluth, Minnesota, is suing Governor Weirdo Walz, claiming he was fired for refusing to get a COVID vaccine. Walz required the vaccine for employment 1 year after the emergence of COVID. Stewart was even denied conducting online classes by the state because apparently the COVID virus is, well, maybe it's a computer virus also. Who knows? Maybe that's what Walz was thinking. Well, when Professor Catherine D'Ignazio isn't running the Data and Feminism Lab, seriously, she now claims she spends 1/3 of her waking hours fighting Trump's state of terrorism. This woman also holds feminist hackathons, which apparently encourage public breastfeeding these days, which feature such topics as make the breast pumps not suck. Well, a University of Mississippi professor, Keith Lehman, recently went on a bizarre series of messages on X, formerly known as Twitter. For instance, there was this, quote, Trump is what white folks feared the first black president would be, except he's a mascot for white supremacy, followed by this piece of whatever. He's impulsive, greedy, gleefully ignorant, big-bootied, erratic, terrible with money, sexually violent, hooks up felonious friends, has 3 baby mamas, and eats all the chicken. I mean, is this guy just weird or what? He's preoccupied with Trump's ass. And this guy is a college professor. A library worker at the University of Missouri reported their co-workers to a campus bias team because during an interview, one person said, trans is fine as long as they're not non-binary. It's also alleged that 3 unnamed library workers constantly misgender other employees. Oh, boo-hoo. Officials at the University of Nebraska are investigating a doctoral thesis by M. Joseph Willett. It is a performance piece called The Mass of Perpetual Indulgence, where various aspects of the Catholic Mass are acted out by drag queens. Why does the LGBTQ plus 2S community like to mock Christianity? Could it be that if they mocked Islam, they might literally lose their heads? That's what I'm thinking. ICE opened a new detention facility in McCook, Nebraska, which has been named the Cornhusker Clink. The University of Nebraska, whose sports teams are known as the Cornhuskers, released a statement that they are in no way associated with the facility. Apparently, college administrators have absolutely no sense of humor. Yeah, just because they use the name Corn, it's like a name used for the state, not just for the football team. Notre Dame professor Perrin Gurel recently penned an article arguing that late-night comedians are now the true voices of resistance because they don't back down from President Trump. I mean, seriously, then again, this is a professor who teaches classes like Transnational America, Gender and Culture, and my favorite, Islam and Feminism. Professors at Ohio State University can no longer make land acknowledgement statements unless it directly relates to course material. Now, in Canada, before every sporting event, they do this crap where they basically apologize to Indians for the white man being on their land. It's institutionalized white guilt, so yay for Ohio State University. Stephen Levin is a huge donor to the University of Pennsylvania, and his name adorned a $15 million neurosciences building. However, he has since ceased all donations to the school and demanded his name be removed from the building, giving the university's lack of response to anti-Semitism and bias against Jews. This is one of the highest profile donors ceasing to be associated with the University of Pennsylvania. Dr. Khalil Mohammed of Princeton University recently went on a podcast and described Trump's efforts to stem crime in Washington, D.C. as proof that the country is sliding toward fascism. This is just getting really tiring, these accusations about fascism. And it's kind of ironic that a Muslim is lecturing Americans about racism. Talk to me about racism when Broadway has a show titled Prophet Muhammad Superstar, featuring a big fat black transgender woman portraying the role of Muhammad. Reed College in Portland, Oregon community, their community safety director is under investigation by the college for giving information to the FBI regarding the identity of a protester who threw and hit an ICE officer with a rock during some demonstration. So the safety director did the right thing, and now they're under investigation. So go figure, but it is Portland, Oregon, so you know. San Diego State University is a private Catholic college, and they are now mandating that professors use non-binary pronouns in the classroom, and that all forms use the more neutral terms like they, them, and their, which, incidentally, are plural pronouns that should not apply to an individual. They are doing this because binary language might offend some transgender freaks somewhere along the line. Meanwhile, students at San Francisco State University can now take courses in illegal immigration studies as part of their race and resistance studies program. The college is offering such courses as undocumented studies, which is art and literature through the eyes of illegal immigrants, or race and sexual migration. These courses likely replace such offerings as basket weaving 101 and quilt making 102. Santa Clara University, another private Catholic college in California, now requires that students in their psychology program intern at a gender-affirming clinic that services clients as young as 5 years old. Most 5-year-old kids cannot tie their damn shoes or aim their piss into a toilet, but they can determine their gender. This is just lunacy. The Stanford Daily, the student newspaper at Stanford University, is suing the Trump administration over a decision to deport students for expressing pro-terrorist views. They claim this is a violation of First Amendment rights, and it should be noted that the Trump administration is not targeting the newspaper, so I don't really think they have a leg to stand on here. It's also rich that this is the same university where a judge was shouted down by a mob of students, and there was nary a word about free speech rights. Okay, this is Call Me Evelyn Parts, a transgender female, which means he has a dick and balls, but is female, or identifies as a female. Anyway, they're suing Swarthmore College in Pennsylvania for not allowing him to participate on the female track team, even though they've been on the female track team since 2020. This begs the question why they've been in college for 5 years now. Tufts University in Massachusetts is planning a lavender retreat at the end of this month and is open to all LGBTQ plus 2S identifying students. Well, this should be an interesting confab of freaks and fags. Okay, this dumbass teaching assistant at Washington State University back in April attacked a student for wearing a Trump hat. Well, this dumbass was not only fired by the college, but he now must spend a week in jail and 1 year's probation. I want to make a bet he dons a black mask and joins Antifa, which are a bunch of sissies, by the way. This dude looks like 100% certified pussy. Emma Cacho is suing Westcliff University in Irvine, California for being denied a scholarship on the college's female volleyball team. And there's a good reason they didn't get that scholarship. Emma is a man who identifies as a woman. Not only that, Emma is 33 years old and on a college basketball team or volleyball team. A federal appeals court stopped West Texas A&M University from banning drag queen shows on campus, arguing it most likely was a violation of the First Amendment. Such shows were banned because the administration said they were demeaning to women, even though they were, and compared the performances to minstrels appearing in blackface. Again, the administration was right on both counts. No real woman looks or acts like a drag queen. Anyway, no word on whether the college will appeal the decision. The University of Wisconsin has suspended their chapter of Students for Justice in Palestine after they determined the group disrupted an April speaking event. Of course, the group used the suspension as proof that the university is in cahoots with Israel and not the terrorist scum that populates Gaza. A former DEI officer at the University of Wisconsin in Eau Claire settled out of court to the tune of $265,000. Rochelle Hoffman claims she was passed over for a promotion because she is white, and you can't have a white person being in any position of authority in a DEI office in a college. The university said they would have probably prevailed, and that they settled out of court to avoid costly litigation. Regardless, Ms. Hoffman is now $265,000 richer. A federal judge ruled that the Kappa Kappa Gamma sorority could admit members based on their self-identified sex or gender, like this fat male who thinks he's a woman shown here. The case was brought by some females at the sorority at the University of Wyoming who feared his admission would threaten their privacy and security. The suit was dismissed by the court. The problem is the national leadership of Kappa Kappa Gamma apparently allows dudes who think they are chicks to join their sorority. And finally, the City College of New York's master program in social work has dropped the term field work. The reason is absolutely ridiculous. The powers that be noted that the phrase field in field work could traumatize potential black social workers because fields are associated with slavery. Now, in 2023, the University of Southern California also changed the course's name for similar reasons. You wouldn't want to trigger or offend a little snowflake in college. Hey, what about a master's degree? Isn't that somehow related to slavery? A master's degree? Or how about saying the word cotton? And thousands of black men can be found on football or baseball fields. Is track and field not for people of color? In science, what about magnetic fields? And God damn it, Trump does not live in the White House. Anyway, that's it for today. Have a great day and a more pleasant tomorrow.